Hello there, this is Robert Hoyson for AE Thoughts. Today we will recreate this effect entirely made in After Effects CS5 without the use of any external plugins. Let's take a look. Okay, the first thing you must do is navigate to a website called aescripts.com. Go to Scripts, Yanhai Scripts, and you will find the Ease and Whiz script. Add to the cart is a name your own price script, so you can take it for free. But if you find it useful, and I'm sure you will, just give this guy some credits. After you download it, just copy paste in your After Effects folder, scripts folder, scripts UI panels. Restart your After Effects after doing this. Then go to composition, new composition. We will rename the new composition logo. Weight and height, we will leave it at the default settings. 10 seconds long should be fine. Notice a pretty nice feature in CS5, the ability to change the background color right here in the composition settings. I will leave it at a dark gray for now. Hit OK and import the AE Thoughts logo. You can do this either by double clicking this project panel window or right click import file. I will double click and I will go to my assets folder. Notice that in here I have several folders named tests, renders, recordings, and so on. When working with motion graphics, one of the most important things to keep in mind is keep your files well organized and proper named, especially when it comes the time to work with other people. Perhaps you are working with a project and you have several guys doing this job and you must collaborate with them. If you're having a mess in your folders, they will not quite understand what you did. Now I'll go to assets, ATOTS, and I will import it as footage. Open and drag the logo into the new composition. You can do this either by left click and drag it down, or you can press Ctrl on your keyboard and slash forward. This will center your image in the main composition. Now we will adjust the size of our layer. I press S on the keyboard, unlock this little feature, and add the new size. 213 for the weight and 230 for the height. Enter. Now we will apply an effect called fast blur. To our layer. Add the effect to the layer. Change the blurriness to 1, and you can also check the box repeat edge pixels. Let me just close this layer window so we can see a little bit better. And let's pre-compose the layer. You can do this either by going to layer pre-compose or controller command shift and C. Rename it logo pre-comp, and before we hit OK, let me explain to you a little bit why I added the fast blur effect. This is a part of the process named prepare your files for using them with a compound effect. Now in a general way of speaking, you should do several things when you're planning to use your assets, your layers, with a compound effect. Whenever that compound effect is, you should add a little blurriness, because compound effects do not like very much sharp edges. The second thing you should know is that it's important to adjust the size of your layer so it matches the size of the composition, or at least almost the size of your composition. We'll hit OK and we will add the cart dance effect. I already have it selected here, but you can search it by entering cart on this little search box and apply the effect. Now make the following settings. Change the back layer to none, gradient layer 1, logo precomp, which is our logo. The number of rows will be increased at 1000 and columns to 500. Now go to Y position over here and set the source to intensity 1, and you should immediately see some changes. The cart dance effect looked into our layer and searched for some edges and then divided them into hundreds of pieces. So you see that the effect saw that we have something written, or at least some shapes over here, and just divided all the layer into many other pieces. Now go at frame 0. You can do this either by dragging this current time indicator or by pressing home on your keyboard. I will adjust the resolution so we will work a little bit faster. And now let's change our timing display. Now it's set to seconds and minutes, but if you press and hold Control or Command on your Mac and left click, it will change to frames. We will work until the end of this project with frames. Now set a keyframe for the multiplier of the eye position and one for the offset. Remember to keep the CTI at frame 0, just to have 0 over here. Okay, now change the multiplier value to minus 9.75 and the offset value to minus 6.5. Enter. Go forward in time at frame 142 and hit enter and change back to 0 both values. Now you should be probably wondering why 142, why not 150 or 140. Well, that is because this is a tutorial and you must understand the workflow of After Effects, and working with only with straight numbers and exact values is not a good start for you. You should get used to frames and working with different numbers of frames, whatever strange they will look like. Now open up the Z position, go back to frame 0 by pressing home on your keyboard and set the source to intensity 1. Okay, now if you look closely over here, you'll see that there are several settings: intensity 1, red 1, green 1, and so on. Also you have intensity 2, red 2 and green 2 and so on. Those are corresponding to the gradient layers over here. We are using only one, but sometimes you need to use two gradient layers. Now, in order for you to better understand this powerful effect called card dance, let's take a look at Adobe, helpadobe.com, and see what it does. It says card dance uses the intensity of the gradient to animate. In our case, many rotation and position properties. It assigns a numerical value to the center pixel of each card on the gradient layer based on the intensity of the pixel. Pure white equals 1, pure black equals -1, and 50% gray equals 0. So you see that our position, rotation, and so on depends on the intensity of the layer which we're using. That is the colors and shapes of our layer. Okay, now let's move on with our tutorial. Set the multiplier to 225. This happens when caps lock are pressed on your keyboard. If you see this red line, just press caps lock. Okay, with the multiplier at 225, let's set a keyframe. Remember, the CTI should be at frame 0. Now we will enter our strange value of 142 frames and change the multiplier value back to 0. Okay, open the Z rotation property and set the source, yes, you guessed it, to intensity 1 and the multiplier to, let's make it 100, and no keyframes this time. Let's go further to camera position. Open up camera position and press home on your keyboard to go back to frame 0. Okay, here we will add a keyframe to the Z rotation of our camera and we will change it to 180 degrees. We will go to 142 frames in time and change the value back to 0. Okay, now we are pressing the magic keyboard shortcuts, which are Control or Command S, and save our project. Okay, now select the composition, press U on our keyboard to reveal all the keyframes. If you want to see every change you have made, just double click U and you'll see all the changes that are made. We need to apply the script called ease and whiz to the multiplier value of the Z position property. Just go to Window and choose ease and whiz. Remember to have the keyframes for the multiplier selected. Now choose back, type in and out should be fine, and press apply. I will close this. Now you see that an expression has been applied to the multiplier value. You can of course change some values over here. The defaults are set to 0.8, 50 and 1.7. that is the elastic and amplitude. You can see the explanation of the author right over here, so it's quite easy to change settings if you like, but for now we will leave it like that. Before we move on, let's take a 1 minute break just to show you how the expression works and how this script has a big influence to your keyframes. Just make, let's close this one, just make a new composition. It doesn't matter the size. I will make just a circle. Press shift if you like to make it rounder. I will add a position, a keyframe for the position, go a little bit in time and just move it over here. I will press N on my keyboard so I have the workspace right about this one, and I'm pressing 0 on the keyboard and you see the motion. Now select the position, go to Window, Ease and Width, choose the easing option Elastic, choose the type Out and hit Apply. Close this one, and if we press 0 on the keyboard, now you see the difference without the expression and with the expression applied. Okay, I think you got the idea. Please feel free to experiment with this wonderful script at home or at work. I will close this one and go back to our project.
Now let's try a RAM preview, see what we've got until now. Just make the resolution lower if you're afraid that your machine cannot handle it very well. And in here at fast preview preferences, check these settings. Also you have the alternate RAM preview. So if you are pressing Alt and 0 on your numerical keypad, it will only preview a predefined number of frames. The default is 5, but you can of course change it. Let's see what we've got. Okay, looking pretty good. Let's pre-compose this layer. Control Command Shift C, name it cards. Move all attributes and search for an effect called curves. Make it a little bit brighter. Now a very cool feature in CS5 is the ability to see in real time the changes you made with the curves effect. In CS4 or less, you needed to release the mouse in order to see what is the actual result. Now let's go a little further in time and take a look closer at our composition. Let's increase this quality of our pixels. Let's make it like this. So we say inside there is this AE Tuts text. Actually is a part of the logo, is not actual text, but because it was all white, the card dance effect separated from the other colors from our logo. So let's try and fix this look and add a CC vector blur, but we will add it to a new adjustment layer. Just press enter and rename it vector blur and add the effect. Change the type to perpendicular and the amount make it 15. Now you will immediately see a huge change in looks without the CC vector blur and with the CC vector blur applied. Now this look is apparently something similar to an oil paint or something, but that wasn't my original idea. What I was looking for was an escape from the actual use of motion blur in this effect, because motion blur, as you all know, takes a lot of rendering time and eats a lot of resources from your machine. So I try to look something similar that doesn't quite do the same as the motion blur, but it is almost something similar, especially when we were working with the car dance effect. Now if you try to use the native motion blur with the car dance, you must have it pre-composed, and you will not see so much difference. If you really want to use motion blur in this project, just try an effect called CC Force Motion Blur, I believe. Yes, this one. Under time you will find CC Force Motion Blur. It takes a lot of rendering time, but it should do a great job at the end. For now, we try to work in our project with the vector blur applied, and let's make it to jump from a value to another by adding just some wiggle. Alt left click on the stopwatch for the amount property and add an wiggle expression. Make it 6, 12, so it jumps from one value to another randomly. You see, the default value is 15 and now it's 13 or 14. If I move in time, it's 22 or something. So it moves a little bit and gives the sensation of motion blur, more accurate. Let's pre-compose this. Control or Command Shift C and rename it main cards. Okay. Make a new solid. Color doesn't really matter, just rename it background or BG, whatever. This will be our background. Add a ramp effect. Okay. Make the start color a yellow. Make it radial and black. Just drag this over. Now you wouldn't want a vignette or something. That's really not something suitable for this project, but if you like it, no problem. You can do whatever you want. I think it should be fine. Let's drop the background beneath our main cards so it should look more like in the preview. Also remember to save the project whenever you have the chance. Okay, now go to the project and take the logo, the AETOS logo, and just put it above everything. Actually, we will solo this layer. Okay, Now select the layer, choose layer auto trace, and leave it like this. Okay. What After Effects did, it calculated the edges of our logo and applied masks. Now on AE.'s website you can find a recent quick tip on how to use this feature in After Effects, along with strokes and some other things that should be useful to you. Watch that if you want to go deeper. For our effect, we just need to extract a certain parts of our logo, and to be precise, we use this feature, the auto trace feature. Now let's reveal the masks. Press M and all the masks are revealed. Now in your version of After Effects you might not have these colors. You might have a single color to all your masks. Before you auto trace, just check right here, I believe, edit preferences, appearance. Yes, uh, check this checkbox, cycle masks color, mask colors. Okay, now you have different colors for every mask. We need this in our project so we can subtract certain masks and not try to guess which one is where. We have the colors to do that for us. So now we are going to subtract this text AE Tuts plus. Okay, and we do this by searching the corresponding colors. Let's go. Let's see. This green is the outside of A, and we change it to subtract. Okay, now we're looking for this blue, which is the E, also subtract. Now the T and the U over here, let's subtract this one too. So I think this one is no, this one, yes, the other T. Yellow for S, and this one for the plus sign. Now let's make the stroke, the texts, the actual original text show up just a little bit. Now we are not going to use any strokes, we're just going to use the original image. Just reveal the expansion property, make it -5 and select it. Okay, Control C, Command C on the Mac, and copy this expansion, this selection, and paste it to all the masks that we've subtracted. Okay, and paste it, and now just a little bit seen. Now we see several problems if we look closely. First, we have this T that doesn't look so good, so we have to select it and just, oh sorry, I just undo that. Just drag a little the handle and just make it to look good. Now we have something missing here, right at the E and A side. We're going to fix that too. So is the red color right here. We change it to add and make the expansion 5, not -5 but 5. Also we have the E. Let's search it where it is. It is right here, I believe. Add and change expansion to 5. Okay, doesn't look very good, but okay, now it's better. Now let's pre-compose this new layer. Control Command Shift and C and make it logo 2. Okay, let's change the size S, just like the previous one, 213 and 230. Okay, now let's make the two layers 3D and add a new camera. The default settings should be fine. Okay, also we will add a new null object. We'll make it 3D and use the pick whip to make the null a controller for our camera. Rename the null object camera controller and open up the opacity properties for those both both compositions, the one with the card dance applied and the one without. Press T after you selected them and add a keyframe at frame 134 for the logo 2. Make it 0. Now go to frame 148 and add another keyframe by entering the value 100%. Now let's go to frame 144 and add a keyframe for the opacity of logo with the car dance effect applied on it. Move a little forward to 1.7 and change the value to 0. Now what we've got, actually I will make a RAM preview only for this part. Okay, so let's see what we've got until now. What we've got is a second logo. You see, it's a fake logo that comes out when the other one fades out. That is because we're going to add a last effect later on to add the whiteness to this text, so it looks like it's filling in with white. But for now, let's do something about the camera. Open up the camera controller and add some keyframes for the Z position. Go to frame 117 and add a keyframe for the position. Now go forward in time until frame 240 and add another keyframe by entering the value minus 300. Now let's preview what we've got until now. Let's see what we've got. Okay, not so bad. Now don't worry if your rendering time when you RAM preview is not so fast. I also have to wait when I RAM preview, but I just pause the recording time so you won't have to wait with me. Okay, I think it's looking pretty good. Let's move forward now. Let's add a new solid. Rename the solid white fill. Okay. Drag it beneath our logos and go further in time until the end of the animation. And let's add a mask. Pressing V on your keyboard and use the selection tool. Add a keyframe for the mask path and make the feather 20 pixels. Go forward in time. Right about here. And adjust this mask so it will be like this. And let's try RAM preview, but first make it press F9 to ease this. Also we're going to ease the camera position, F9, and let's see what we've got. Okay, that's looking nice. Let's make another solid, new solid, and leave it black, make it particles, hit OK or enter and search for an effect named CC Particle Systems 2. Add the effect to the solid. Let's solo just a little bit to see what we've got. We have here several settings and we're gonna work with some of them. Let's make the following adjustments. First, going to the birth rate. Lowering at 0.5. Make the longevity 7.5. We open up the producer and change the X radius to 25. So this is the emitter, okay? So now it's bigger. And in Y also 25. Open up physics and turn the gravity to 0. Now open particle and set the particle type to tri-polygon. Make the depth size to 0.5 and make the opacity map constant. Also set the maximum opacity to 50.
change the bird color to a light blue and that color to a pink or something. Anyway, feel free to experiment and do whatever you wish. I'm sure you can find better colors and things like that. Now, to make our particles look a little bit different, let's add the CC vector effect. Vector blur, sorry. Okay. Set type to perpendicular and the amount to 40. Now let's see what we've got. Make the particles right behind our logo, and let's increase the size just a little bit. Okay. Now let's add something more to the particles. Let's add a glow effect. It is under stylize, glow. Okay. I think we're gonna leave the settings over here. Just maybe increase the threshold just a little bit. Okay, so it looks like something unreal, quite beautiful. Let's make a RAM preview for these particles and see what we've got. The RAM preview should be a little bit faster because not taking a lot of time rendering, and we'll see the colors flashing in and out. I think it's looking pretty cool. I will unsolo this. Now we will pre-compose everything. Controller command on Mac, Shift and C, name it main comp. OK, and search for the time warp effect. Add the effect to the composition, and now something odd happened, and this is because the default speed parameter over here for the time warp effect is set to 50, which means that the speed of our footage or composition is reduced by 50%. Let's make it back to 100. Okay, everything back to normal. Now go to frame 107 and add a keyframe for the speed. Okay, now move forward one frame. You can do this by pressing page up or down on your keyboard, and set the speed to 12. Okay, go forward frame 154 and set another keyframe by clicking this sign, and page down, move forward one frame, make it back to 100 and press enter. So you will have 4 keyframes. Let's make them a little bit larger. So the first one is 100, the second one is 12, the first one is 12, the second one is 100. So between this and this, time will be reduced at 12%, creating a slow motion effect which is quite nice. Let's RAM preview and see what we've got. But before doing so, let's brighten up a little bit the background. Make the yellow a little bit brighter. Okay. And make a RAM preview. But not in this composition. In our main composition where we added the time warp effect. Pressing 0 and decrease the work area a little bit. Let's see what we've got. Okay, now comes slow motion and out. In and out. Looking pretty nice. Inside this area, time warp effect is doing its job pretty well. Okay. Now before we end this tutorial, two more things I have for you. First, you should know that the settings you've seen in this tutorial were made for the AE Tots logo. So if you replace the logo with your own, an image or even footage, you should adjust the settings properly, as every image, you know, has its own characteristics and files do not respond in the same manner when effects are applied to them. Just remember that the card dance effect uses the brightness of the pixels. Just play with it, with the darken and the brighten colors, and you should be fine. Now, the second thing you should know is that using time warp is not the only method to work with time in After Effects. If you have a footage imported of your own and want to apply a slow motion, a fast motion or stop frame, you should try and use the time blending and time remapping also. You can find those under Layer, Time, Enable Time Remapping, or the frame blending over here. Also, you have time scratch. You will also find it in a timeline. If you do not see it in a timeline, just right click, choose columns and stretch. This one simply reduces or increases the speed of your composition. You should find a lot of tutorials online regarding time effects, but for now I wish you a wonderful day and keep practicing with After Effects. Goodbye.